It's time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by
PSE Archery, Hunter's Blend Coffee, Better the Hunt, Easy Cut, Packer Max, Buck Baits, Limb Walker Game Calls, Total Peep, Sunrise Archery, Scent Lock, Scent Blocker, and Rebel 6 Rubs and Seasonings.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Another week of Up North Journal. Sitting here in the cabin. Hopefully,
That's right.
It's cold, man.
It's a warm cabin compared to outside.
It's been bitter cold this week, man.
It has been. I tell you what, I think the one morning I woke up, when I walked by the thermostat, it said it was minus 13 outside.
Mine just said burr.
Wow, right?
Yesterday morning I woke up and it was 18 below. Man alive, it has been cold.
It has been cold, so you know, it's one of those things that you just sit there and you know.
Right?
Because we're halfway past February.
Yep.
So we got to get to March.
Jim Steffen is already in the cabin tonight. Hey, what's going on, Jim? Speaking of fishing, we got to get him back on. Him and two guys won a ice fishing tournament out in Wyoming, and they tore it up. Took second place. Yeah,
nice.
They got some paper to go along with it.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, he was pretty proud about that. So
I
that's
guess
a good deal. I tell you what, you ready to kick this thing off?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. I'm host Mike Adams, sitting in a warm cabin tonight here in the Michigan area, watching it snow yet again with Dan DeFall.
I don't even know what we had. 6-8 inches, a couple.
10. We got 10 out here.
Did we have 10?
That's what they said. We got 10. I snowblowed the driveway 3 times in less than 12 hours. So,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So, well, listen, our guest is sitting here waiting. Let's go ahead. Let's take care of some quick business.
Well, you know, it's cold, so let's take care of the business first, and then I think we need to pay a visit to the UP. Just to check in to see what's up there.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, so let's take care of some business.
All right, go ahead.
All right, folks. You know, we like you to get out there, and as we need you to help our supporters that help support us. And if you do that by going over, let's see, huntersblendcoffee.com. That's right. You go over there, and if you are on the Facebook Live and you look at under Mike's finger, or if you're on the podcast, you use the promo code capital UNJ, you'll get 10% off your order upon checkout.
huntersblendcoffee.com.
That's right. You know what? And then if you're starting to think about turkey season, or you're thinking about hunting season, get over there and check out Buck Baits. They got a store, Deer Camp, down in Sterling Heights, Michigan, or you can go over to buckbaits.com. Use the promo code UpNorthJournal, and you'll get 20% off your order.
But that's not all.
Well, he was on a couple weeks ago. Lincoln Roan, congratulations to him and his son becoming the first employee of Packer Max. Get over to Packer Max. You're going to get $25 off your order, courtesy of the promo code UNJ25 if you go to packermax.com, or give him a call and talk to him directly for your best needs. And last but not least, we talked to him last week. Paul and Amy, JPO Game Calls. Get over there. Use the promo code UNJ10. You'll get 10% off your order at www.jpogamecalls.com.
How many W's did you put in there?
I think I had 3.
I think there's more than that, but who's counting?
Right?
Well, let's get into tonight. Well, wait a minute. We got one more thing here.
One more thing, because we are now on M123 FM up in the UP, and there's nothing better than checking in. If you're on the podcast listening,
there's a car.
There is a car. You're gonna have to go to the live Facebook and see, because we're putting up the camera that's live from downtown Newberry. We did have 2 cars parked. They're gone. We did have a car actually drive through the little town of Newberry, and there you go.
There's not a lot going on up there, but it sure is cold.
It looks like they got a lot of snow like we do.
Right. I tell you. Well, let's just get into the show tonight, man. We've got Joe Okada sitting in here. He is all the way from over in Madison, Wisconsin. Joe, what is going on?
Hi, guys. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Well, we've been talking about weather. We got to ask, what's it like over there?
everybody's Texas can talk about weather finally.
Amen to that, right?
So, yeah, no, it's been bad. This is my least favorite month of the year. You're just at the very bottom of the valley, and you're just waiting for the weather to break so you can go enjoy some fresh air and sun that doesn't involve ice fishing like boats and stuff again. So
right,
that's what I'm waiting for.
Well,
it's the hardest month of the year.
You're just right west of us, so I mean the weather you're getting, we get eventually, within a couple hours. But I hear that we're going to hit the 30s, almost 40 next week.
We hit over 20 today. I was happy to see that. So we're headed in the right direction.
Yeah, it won't be long, and everybody will be back out on the water, on the soft water. So that's good.
Right. And speaking of soft water, your boat's probably looking pretty good in the garage, sitting there, or if it's covered out in the yard, whichever it might be. You got to be kind of itching to get that thing out and ready to go.
My boat is in probably 3 different pieces right now. I imagine they just started production on it. I heard so. I imagine there's a lot of different moving parts all starting to kind of converge into one solid 219 TFX. So should be getting that phone call in the next couple of weeks to maybe go see my boat.
That would be awesome. and I hope you do a video on it, because we'll be glad to share it on. If you put it on YouTube, we'll be glad to share it, and so you can give us a little tour of that boat that you're going to have. Welcome to the show. You're a Yamaha Walleye Pro Fisherman, and kind of give us a little background about how you got there. What got Joe into becoming a Walleye Pro Fisherman? I know you started at a very young age, I think.
Really young. Walleye's always tasted better than bass. So before I wanted to, aspire to be a competitive angler, I just loved to eat fish. And that was the logical game fish to go try and eat, since they're plentiful in my area and they're fun to catch and they're challenging. And before that, I was always obsessed with fishing anyways, for forever. So that was just a natural progression to go there. And then once I kind of became dedicated to the pursuit of walleyes and, trying to compete to, just kind of as a proving grounds to myself as how I was progressing as a walleye angler was just kind of a natural fit. And then here we are today, and that's what I get to do. So
that's awesome. Now, your mom and dad, you and fishing, so I know you couldn't drive all that time, so they must have been driving you all over. Or were you able to bike to where you fished, where you started, or how did that work out?
Yeah, there was a bike path from the place where I could get dropped off to where I could start fishing. It was a little railroad trestle up down the ways a little bit, and so I'd be riding my bike there, and I'd come back with a stringer wrapped around the bike handle with a bunch of white bass or whatever I caught to come home and eat. And then Dad would take me out in my grandpa's boat, an old tri-hull on Lake Mendota, and we'd troll around for white bass or just drift for panfish or whatever. And Dad used to do a lot of fishing with me and Grandpa back then too. And eventually Dad became my tournament partner once we started dabbling in tournaments, and that was a lot of fun as well. We got to compete with each other last year for the first time in several years, and it brought back a lot of good memories. We had a lot of hours in the boat together during those times.
That's got to be awesome, with your dad and grandpa, and that's where outdoor memories are made. It seems like, whether it be in a hunting blind or in a boat or out alongside of the river. So you came by it naturally through the family, I take it. I mean, from your grandpa to your dad to you.
They all love fishing, but man, I just love turning on the TV at 6 a.m. on Saturday to watch ESPN Outdoors and watch Jimmy Houston and all those guys do their fishing shows, and I just ate that stuff up like crazy. And even if Dad had never touched a fishing rod in his life, I still would have pursued fishing, and I guarantee Dad still would have tried to help in any capacity to help me just pursue that sport. So whether or not he was a fan of it or not, I mean, he's a bigger golfer than a fisherman, and he's an awesome golfer, to be honest. But if the support that my parents have provided over the years is immeasurable, and I can never thank them enough for all of that.
So who is so with the backing of your parents, the way it sounds it, who was the push to get into the tournaments? Was that you, or was it from your dad?
Yeah, that was just me. I'd watch Bassmasters on TV, and so I knew there was fishing tournaments, and I just eventually, once I knew that tournaments existed for a species beyond bass, including walleye, which I was already, trying to catch and trying to hone my skills on. I was like, well, I'm going to go do that. And then in 1999, the PWT Championship came to Madison, and I live just outside of Madison now, but I used to live right in Madison. When they came to the Madison Chain of Lakes in '99, you got to see the big timers, come to town and fish my spots and catch fish off my spots and win a bunch of money doing it. And it was like I will do that someday, and I will do whatever it takes to get to that level. So that's what I set my sights on.
You're probably thinking, man, they're in my honey hole. I know where all these spots are. I could have beat those guys.
Yeah, I was so proud. One of them, I offered that was when the online forums were really busting for walleye. Everybody participated in the online forums, and I wanted to interact with these pros. These guys were the guys I looked up to, so I reached out to one of them and wanted to offer some information up to be like, you can fish this rock pile and really catch them. And he, it was neat to be able to talk to the guys that you see on TV and see in Walleye Insider and see in all the magazines, and it was a pretty neat experience. And then when I finally got to compete against those same guys, I was like, holy crap, this is
what's that feel? You got that deer in the headlight look, looking at these people you've idolized, seeing on TV, you've seen them in print, and now you're in a boat leaving the dock against them. What's that feeling deep at first?
It's crazy, man. It's like in 2008 was my first year that I fished a pro-am level tournament, and I was lucky enough to make the top 10 cut for that championship. And so it was Tommy Scarless and Robert Blosser and Chris Gilman. I mean the guys, the studs were in it, and if I could go back to it, I would have liked to address it differently mentally, because at that time I was just like, oh man, I just want to enjoy this, and I can't believe I'm doing this, and I can't believe I'm competing on such a big day with these guys. But looking back now, I would have liked to approach it a little bit differently, because I finished 10th in that one out of the top 10 that made it, so I could have done better that day. But man, what an experience that was. It was a thrill. And back then they used to give us like a boat and a truck to use for the final days, like you were big time, and it was just a really neat experience.
And then to look at it, you make the cut, you're in the top 10, you're in the last day, and all of a sudden you see your name starting to go past your heroes. That's got to be one of those, it's like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, in a stadium with thousands of people, with your like you were a big deal. And you weren't.
You are a big deal. That's the thing. And as far as like you said, you start to grow as a following, or your name gets out there, and things start to happen, and all of a sudden you become that guy. Right?
No, it's a pretty cool deal, and it's a really neat progression. And if you can hear my daughter destroying some toy above my head right now, I apologize. This is her witching hour, when she really likes to play with it tight. So
she just turned 1, right? So she's got and you got a fishing pole in her hands already, and she's out there with your wife, got her fishing pole, so you got her started.
I do. I felt so bad. We had a moment just before I came back on, when we took a little break here, and I was like, I'll be right back. Well, I go up behind her and I grab her, and I was going to fling her on my shoulders. Her head just goes wham and nails the low-hanging light in the entryway.
Oh,
and so there's
no.
tears. I don't know if you heard her crying upstairs. She was crying. I was almost crying. I was like, oh my God. And so she's got a little bump on the top of her head, and what a dumb move. I feel like an idiot, but that's how we play hard.
Yeah, that's the only way to play. They're resilient and they bounce back pretty quick. But getting kids involved, that's what it's all about. Getting them involved early in their lives in the outdoors, whether it be hunting, fishing, camping, whatever it is. That's awesome.
It has to become part of their. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say. Yeah, I was gonna say that your wife told you no rough housing in the house.
I'm sure she did. She's always on edge when we're starting to wrestle. But I was just going to say that it's important to. I think it's important to start to get your kids just in that rhythm this is my first kid, so I can't talk like I have a lot of experience. But I've guided people for 20 years, and I've seen them bring their kids on board, and just integrating the fishing rhythm into their life, or the outdoors rhythm into their life, is so.
There you go.
Here, bring her
on.
Bring her on.
This is Abigail, and she. I don't know if you can see the bump on her head.
Oh boy!
Seal light.
Yeah.
But she knows itsy bitsy spider now, so she's gonna probably try to show off for you. But anyways, I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure she gets a bunch of time on the water this year and moving forward, because I think that's, just making it just a regular part of your life. That's just what you do when you go outside and play, is hop in the boat with Dad and go fishing. I really hope that becomes something that she looks forward to and wants to keep doing until the boys hit. So,
well, you might see her in the tournament here one day. You never can tell.
I was just about to say, you might be fishing with her in a start out in a Pro-Am. You might give her the same advice, and she just might go, "Dad, I got this," and off on her own boat.
Well, I see. I have a friend, Tom Kimos, who doesn't live too far away from me. He's been competing with his daughter in the AIM Weekend Walleye Series, and they're having a great time. And that is so awesome to see him roll up at like 6:45 in the morning, ready for blast off, and there's his daughter in the passenger seat, ready to rock. So. One of these days, that will happen.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. And I tell you what, we're coming up to our first break. When we get into the second break, we're going to kind of talk about why you're on the show tonight, talking about Yamaha and Yarcraft, and get into the details of what's going on new over at Yamaha.
All
right, sounds good.
All right, everybody hang on. We're going to take a quick step outside, and we'll be right back after this.
All right, anybody in Facebook Live? Oh, David Landsteiner says, "Hi, Joe. Hope your winter is going well. Looking forward to the upcoming season." Mark Coleman, "You've never fished for walleye?"
Yeah, like Tammy said, he's got to come north.
You got to come up here.
Absolutely.
Brian Block says, "Hey, Joe."
Before we go back, Danny, I got to do one thing here real quick.
You do that.
There's a little pop-up here on the screen I got to get rid of. There we go.
So, but yeah, it's just one of those things. She's won now. She'll be 16 asking for the keys for the car in no time.
Asking keys for the boat.
Well, she'll be able to drive a boat before she can drive a car.
Right. It don't
If
take
she can
long.
back a boat up like her mom, I'll be impressed.
Oh, okay. So she can back a boat up better than you can?
No, I wouldn't go that far. I was her teacher.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I don't mean to be anything in our break, but I know you and safety cones have issues, so I don't know if I would. I'd have to get Mr. Blosser on to verify that story. I know there's a video YouTube out there of you and a safety cone.
Proof.
There is proof. I couldn't find the video, luckily, or else I was going to play it.
Yeah, he was digging for it too.
I was looking.
Before he called, I'm like, you got to hurry up and call him. It's getting late. And he's like, I'm looking for this video. I want to play it tonight. So you escaped.
Awesome.
You escaped tonight.
Perfect.
All right, here we go. Stand by in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. Second segment of the show. We always say this, but when you're in the commercial break, for those of you on the podcast, you got to go back and watch the live stream. A lot of good stuff happens in the breaks. Always good chat.
Absolutely. That's one of the things. Shane Cardinal says, "Hello, Joe."
Hi, Shane.
Got a following tonight, man. I tell you, they're lighting it up here.
Do you fish around the Wausau area?
Not much.
Not much? Okay. So there you go, Jim. That's your question. Okay. Second segment of the show. We have you on here specifically to know more about Joe Okada, walleye fisherman, but we're also here to talk about Yamaha. Give me an overview of what's going on at Yamaha these days. You're the first one of the year for Yamaha, so
you get to spill the beans on all the new stuff.
Yep.
Well, for the tournament guys like myself, they're still continuing the Yamaha Power Pay contingency program, which is a really great program. There's already a pile of tournaments, bass, walleye, saltwater that are sanctioned and already approved through the Yamaha Power Pay program. And what it is basically just a any Yamaha owner that owns a Yamaha engine between, I think it's 115 and 450 horse. I'm pretty sure that's the range. But as long as they're an owner of that engine within the last 60 months of ownership that they've owned that engine, they don't have to be the original owner of it, but it has to be with that new of an engine, 5 years. And if you hit those points and you go compete in a tournament, you don't even have to win the tournament. You can literally be the highest finishing Yamaha owner that's signed up for the Yamaha Power Pay Contingency Program, and you get some extra bonus dollars for your efforts in that tournament. So it's a really great program. It doesn't require you to win; it just requires you to perform. And if you do, you get your check that you already earned through that tournament just gets a little bit sweeter. So
nice.
that's a great program from them. They've just added some new great features to the offshore line, the 300.
And
just got a facelift. Go ahead.
And I got up on I had up on the screen. You just go over to YamahaPowerPay.com and you can go sign up there to do that if you're going to be looking at tournaments down the road. And I see here right on the website they've paid out to date over $157,000 in Power Pay. So it pays to sign up if you have a Yamaha.
Absolutely.
That's right. Yep, I think they have up to $20,000 payouts, depending on the level of the tournament that people have entered. So, I mean, there's a wide range of things to win, and I know several people in the walleye world have taken advantage of it, especially through organizations like the AIM Walleye, the AIM Weekend Walleye Series. There's a lot of Yamahas running around in that circuit, and I know several of the people already that benefited from the program. So, if you're an owner, you're crazy not to sign up if you're fishing any tournaments. So make sure you head over to Yamaha Power Pay.
It's free to sign up, right?
That's right.
So if it's free to sign up, go over, do it. If you hit it big in a tournament, you get your points and stuff. On the website, you can check it out, folks, when you go there. They've got a scrolling bar that says they've paid out like $250, they paid out $500, they've paid out $1,000. So depending on where these people ended up, they're paying out. So it pays for free to sign up.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
So now, let's go back to Yamaha. What do we got going?
You'll see a little facelift on the 250s and 300s. They just announced it just a couple of weeks ago, I believe. But just some nice innovations to the 4.2s, and that includes some integrated power steering assist that you're going to see, and some new styling in the cowling, and they've rerouted some exhaust there too for some of the bigger boats, especially on the coast that are operating multiple engines and need a lot of reverse thrust and grip in their props. So the engines that were already awesome have just become more awesome and cool looking too. So that'll be a great addition to the 4.2 liter offshore line.
And now let's start with you. And what boat are you running or going to be running? It sounds like they're building it as we speak.
That's right.
And what engine you got?
They weren't able to build. I think the last 2 days they weren't even able to build at all because Arkansas just got pummeled by snow and cold too. Where it's just, I mean, this has really thrown a wrench in everybody's systems. Tournaments are delayed and canceled and postponed. This weather really threw everybody for a loop. But yeah, my boats are in the works down there at Yarcraft Boats, which is the sister company to Bass Cat Boats. So both of those brands are built side by side in the production line in Mountain Home, Arkansas. And I'll be running the 21.5 foot 219 TFX with the Yamaha 300 XCA on the back this year.
There you go. So, talk to me about this engine that you're running. How do you like it? What kind of do you have your maintenance done for you, or do you go and maintain it yourself?
Oil changes are easy. Fluid changes are easy. But for the initial pre-delivery inspection, I always take it to a certified Yamaha dealership just to make sure that everything is intact and in order. I have a great Yamaha place up the road, Don's Marine. I've known those guys for 15 years, I bet you, and they've always taken good care of me. And so I always take my engines there for their spring tune-up just to make sure they're ready to go, and then I'm off to the races. And really, there's not a whole lot to do after you change some fluids and a couple filters, and you're pretty much just ready to go fishing. So,
in talking with the guys last year about Yamaha and the maintenance on them and the reliability as well, I know what distances you guys cover and tend to cover, but reliability of the engine is very important when you're out in the middle of a bay or out in the middle of basically water, and you have to get back to where you need to get back really quick.
Yeah, I've kind of got a little reputation of going a long ways away from takeoff to go find a couple fish, and I've somehow I even when I intend on looking close, maybe I don't want to look at other people or something during the day while I'm fishing, but I end up a lot of times if people don't see me on the water, it's because I'm on the other end of the lake somewhere looking for my winning fish if they exist over there. So I'm not afraid to go a long distance to chase a walleye down, even if it results in less fishing time, and I know I've got the reliability to get me home. That's not even a hiccup in my mind when I'm trying to strategize for my day, and it's been that way for my entire fishing career. So
well, that's got to say something too for the amount of fuel that they use. I mean, we talked about this with a couple of guys last year, running on these big lakes, especially here in the Great Lakes, making these big long runs. You get a tank full of fuel, and it's got to last you. So, fuel mileage, to me, that's got to be extremely important to you guys.
It's very important. There's so much that goes into preparing an efficient rig, though. I mean, it starts with your engine, which you strap on the back. That's number one. If the efficiency isn't there from that outboard, you're not doing good anyways. But efficient running, hulls that run efficiently, and if you're going to be poking a long ways away from takeoff, and you're kind of at that threshold where should I take the time and refill, or do I have just enough to make it back without having to take another half hour out of my day to refuel? Some of those tournaments where you're at that filling up threshold is where having that efficiency on the back of the boat really can make a difference. Especially managing your RPMs, having the right choice of propeller and setup for your boat, and so many things go into balancing a rig to make it run as efficiently as possible. But yeah, absolutely, the efficiency of my engines is really amazing, and it's gotten me to wherever I wanted to go since I've started doing this walleye tournament gig.
Something you had mentioned there, and I've never heard anybody talk to this yet that we've talked to from Yamaha. You mentioned setups and with the hull and everything. Hull shape. How does that play into choosing the right motor? Because or does it?
Hull shape and choosing the right motor.
Yeah, you got a deep V, modified V, or something like that. I mean, does that ever dictate anything to do with? Because I'm not a boat guy, so I don't know.
Some hulls naturally, some heavier hulls naturally cut through waves to a deeper degree, which means there's just more resistance, there's more drag.
Okay.
And there's some hulls that naturally that have very good natural lift. Even heavy hulls, that they have a natural ability to lift and ride high and clean with a decent power supply in the back, it is how you're able to take the same Yamaha 300 on two different hulls and see a little bit of a discrepancy in your miles per gallon just because of the drag that you had. And some people don't take the extra time to unload your boat before tournament day. So if you have an extra 200 pounds of crap in the front compartments of your boat, your running attitude is different. Your drag points are different. You might not achieve the same amount of lift, and that could significantly reduce your range, even to the point where when you were tinkering with that, when you were tickling that threshold of should I fill up or should I just turn around and head straight home. That's when things like that and being smart about how all that comes together, plays a part in how you strategize for your runs.
And and you talk about, these are the big motors. You're talking about going on your long runs. Yamaha's got motors anywhere from 2.5 horsepower all the way up to the big 425 offshore horsepower. So if you've got anything in between that you want to put a main motor on your boat, or you want to get a kicker motor for tooling around, they got it. You just got to go and check them out. That's one of the things you can do. You go over to Yamahaoutboards.com, and they got the whole line up there that you can just poke around the website and look from, like I said, anywhere from 2.5 horsepower up to 425.
Yeah. awesome machines, and the support. I ran them, I think, 8 years before we ever even had a conversation about aligning as partners to continue my pathway in the competitive realm. And so I've had 100% confidence in them before we ever initiate our first phone call together to discuss working together. But the amount of support that they've shown me over the years is unbelievable, and I'm really appreciative of everything that they've done for me. So I'm proud to run their product.
And that speaks volumes of a company when they take the time to work with you on if you've got issues or maybe you've got suggestions for them, and then for them to take it back into their engineering, look at it into their motors and say, hey, Joe told us this, what can we help them out, or maybe it's not at all, but they're willing to listen to you and help you and be there for you.
Absolutely, they are there for me. They're there for all of us. We run with a good crew, so it's really happy to run them.
Well, wasn't it last year that they had mentioned that some of the engineers had come over?
Yep, some of the engineers
running with the fishermen and getting input for the new designs.
Yeah. So
what better way to learn about the intricacies of what could maybe be done differently to help our fishing workflow, other than to jump in our boats and experience it firsthand. So just having that take the time to come out means a lot.
And plus, seeing how you guys work as opposed to what they think can be two different things. It's one thing when you have your mindset as an engineer, you're sitting at your computer working in a environment, but then to go, how's the customer going to use that? And then to actually say, hey, let's go out, have these guys show us what they do, and then take that knowledge back to their product.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're bumping up here on our next break, so why don't we take a quick break and step outside?
Let's take a quick break. We got some questions. They're piling up, so third segment, we'll have some questions for them.
All right, we're going to step outside.
Nice. Sounds good.
All right, we'll step outside and be right back after this.
All right, folks, keep those questions coming in. We're going to ask Joe here in the third segment. I know there's one in here. Deb Joder is looking forward to making the switch from Mercury to Yamaha this season.
There you go.
Hi, Deb.
There you go, making the switch, going from a Merc to a Yamaha. All right, we got some questions here. This will be good.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go.
I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. Third segment of the show. Danny's been cruising through the list here. He's got some questions lined up.
Right, exactly. First question from Mark Coleman. From a safety standpoint, and safety is number one in anything we do, whether you're at home or on the job, what is your biggest safety concern with your motor?
My biggest safety concern.
Or do you have a pregame safety check before you leave the dock?
I have way too many concerns going through my mind before I leave the dock, especially on tournament day. Almost none of it has to do with trusting the performance of any of the equipment that I choose to run. But as far as safety goes, and I was not always a prime spokesperson for this safety measure, but I have seen enough video footage to scare the lights out of me as far as not running around with your kill switch on. It's not that I was trying to be a tough guy for a lot of years, but I just felt like I was in control of my boat at all times, and I could just sit in the seat, turn the key, and drive around. And then you see some things happen out of nowhere in some of these videos.
You're talking about the infamous video from the college
team.
The college team down south. They were running, I think they were running pretty near full out, and I think their shaft broke, and they went flying.
Yeah.
That's one of many. And it could be a floating piece of debris that you didn't plan on it being there. It could be anything. But at any point in time, if your boat takes you for a ride and throws you around and you're not fully in control of your boat, you need to have something tethered to that boat to tell it to shut off when you're not in full control of that boat. And so now I am doing much better after a lot of those campaigns were initiated to make sure that safety measure is always in place on my boat. So, that goes for life jackets too. I wasn't always a life jacket guy, honestly, I preferred to not wear them because I don't like wearing puffy life jackets all the time. But I've kind of compromised, and I do wear a Mustang, inflatable, whenever I'm fishing now, and it actually works out pretty good because there's a nice little hook for a carabiner to have my trolling motor control in there. So it's already part of me in my workflow in the boat now, and it doesn't need to come off when I'm fishing most of the time, and but especially when I'm behind the wheel and the engine's running. So
there you go.
I'd say as far as safety goes, that's the stuff that needs to be in the back of your mind, and no one is invincible. That's what needs to be in the back of your mind, is nobody is invincible, even the tough guys. So,
right. It'll catch up with you some way, shape, or form, and bring your feet right back down to earth real quick. Mike
That's
Parker says, Joe, now they see you everywhere, and then they think you're going to need to rename your boat Hollywood. So, because they see it so much. Another question. Do you run marine fuel only, methanol free, or do you run regular pump fuel? Do you run a inline screw or on a fuel filter?
Yep, I have my inline water separator ready to go, and that gets changed at the intervals that we get our regular fluids changed. And a lot of times we're at the mercy of the gas pumps when we go somewhere. Sometimes when we go to a place, there's like a dedicated place where you might feel comfortable fueling up, or there's nothing else for 50 miles around. So your hand is forced to fill up at some of these places. And I carry a case of Yamaha Ring Free with me wherever I go as an additive, so that no matter what fuel I encounter, and if there's any contaminants or ethanol that needs to be addressed, I hope that the additives that I'm putting in help offset any inconsistencies that you might see in that fuel. But yeah, you're just kind of at the mercy of wherever we go. I wish I could have my pick, but that's what we got to work with.
All right, next question. So you're doing what typically style of fishing are you doing in these tournaments?
Walleye fishing, I think more money has been won in walleye fishing tournaments trolling than casting since the history of walleye fishing. But that dynamic is slowly changing as new methods of targeting more specific areas are coming into light. But I think by and large, even if, as those continue to evolve, trolling will still be the dominant pattern to target and do well in fishing tournaments, just for the sheer efficiency and your ability to really fine tune patterns at scale, because you've got 4 to 6 lines out at a time that you can control different variables with on that entire spread, and really arrive at a fine-tuned presentation before the day's over, versus just casting one rod around. But don't get me wrong, if I just have one rod in my hand and I'm casting and feeling that fish inhale that bait, that is the most gratifying feeling in fishing for me right now. And that's that. So I always try to find a bite that I can have fun with like that. But I'll never leave trolling rods at home, ever. A walleye fisherman never leaves their trolling rods at home.
And speaking of rods, what's your go-to setup for rods and reel?
My go-to is a 6.9 Black Rain from JT Outdoor Products, or 7.1 JTX, paired with I love Daiwa reels. They've just treated me well performance-wise, and I usually put those on. So. There's a lot of great reel manufacturers, and a lot of great rod manufacturers out there, but I partnered with JT Outdoor Products about 2 or 3 years ago, and I have fallen in love with those rods. They are really amazing. But basically, everybody, it's like a golf club. Everybody has to find their one golf club that just treats them right and doesn't make them whip the ball very often. And those are. Well, the same thing applies to fishing.
There you go. Next question. I'm just going to start throwing questions because they're coming in.
Yeah, they're coming in.
Electric gas.
Are they coming in fast? Or
they are coming in.
They're going by faster.
I can scroll. It's like
shorten my answers up for you then. Sorry.
Right? Electric, gas, kicker, or low RPM on your main motor?
A combination of the two. I use the kicker as my constant forward thrust most of the time, and then I'll use my trolling motor as my directional. But sometimes there's a lot to be said with shutting off that trolling motor and just using your kicker to steer from the stern of the boat. It's your boat carves differently when you're steering with your kicker, and sometimes that steering pattern actually can trigger fish, and it really helps you manipulate your baits if you're using a sinking method of trolling out there. You can gun it. You have instant throttle with a 9.9 kicker versus a trolling motor, so you can really work your throttle and your steering in conjunction to vary your depths of your lures and to maintain control of that brake line as you're cruising on it. So there's a time and a place for both, but it's hard to not want to have a kicker on the back of the boat.
Okay. You've been on the tournament trail for a while now. Your favorite tournament body of water?
I should say Green Bay because I've done well there more than anywhere else, but so I guess I have to say Green Bay because the arriving at that place where I'm finally pretty comfortable there was a lot of fun, and the water continues to change. The water levels continue to change, fish movements and behaviors continue to change, fishing ways of fishing for them continue to evolve. So I guess that's still part of the exciting part, but my favorite part is going to a body of water where I don't have any history and I'm learning it for the first time days before the tournament, because that's what gets your butterflies going and your gears turning and you working extra hard to try to uncover stuff that you have no idea exists out there. So new bodies of whatever body of water is new is probably my favorite right now.
It's funny you say that because we talked to the guys last year, and basically all the water bodies that you guys were fishing were all high.
Everything was changing quick.
Everything was changing like rapidly. So it go actually almost like a new body of water, where it used to be low tide was like, I know up in Escanaba there, up on the bay, that body of water has changed a lot in the last couple of years, from being really low to really high.
Yeah, fish can live in places they never used to be able to live before.
Right,
cool.
Exactly. Here's a good one from Cole. I'm going to blow this name up. Egbergston. Who is the most inspirational person in terms of how you approach your career?
Oh.
Or you can answer this other question from Aaron Johnson that says, Joe, are you wearing pants?
I don't have to answer that. This interview was from here up, so whatever. It's not standing up.
It doesn't matter,
right? I don't even know how to answer the one that Cole asked me, because there's been so many helping hands along the way.
Like we talked about in the first segment, you watched all those people on TV as you were growing up. Eventually, you got to fish against some of them and learn. You seen how they did it on TV, and then you kind of probably developed your own style getting in there, whether it be game day, you're hot, you're ready to go, or you're just like now. Here it is, February. You're thinking about it, and it's like, how do you approach this upcoming year? So
yeah.
That's one of the things.
That's a good question. Some of the most influential people have been people that don't even fish many tournaments, and they are unbelievably good anglers, like scary good, and their intuition on the water is so on point that I would hate to have to compete against some of these guys on a regular basis, because they're so good. It's the way certain brains work certain ways that allows them to be really unbelievable on the water. And some of these guys are like the most quiet, humble people you wouldn't even know they know how to catch a walleye, and they don't care that you don't know. And those are the scary guys. So I have so much and they don't want a target on their back either, so I'm not even supposed to probably say their names. But there's so much good influence that has come my way over the years of people that I've run into and developed friendships with, and they know who they are, and I owe a lot to a lot of people. So I can't. There's not just one dude that was a big inspiration.
Well, we got a question in here that actually I had thought about, but we talked about this, I think, before the show, but or actually as the show started. Jim Steffen out in Wyoming, he's got into some ice fishing out there. Right now here on the Great Lakes and the rivers, with all this cold weather, people are throwing shanties up all over the place, especially on the big water. Do you do any ice fishing at all for walleye? I mean, being over there in Wisconsin, I know you got ice.
Yeah, I used to a lot more when I didn't have access to a boat as much. I would look forward to the ice fishing season because it allowed me to get to the offshore structure that I wasn't able to visit on a regular basis. And so I used to be totally obsessed with the sport. But then when I got boats and started fishing more out of them, that took a back seat in priority. And ice fishing season became a point in time for me to regroup and reassess things from the previous year and apply that towards the upcoming season. So that's kind of how I work the off season nowadays.
I imagine it gives you more time with the family too, to be able to stay away from fishing just a little bit until it gets back on the soft water.
The past 12 months, I wouldn't trade them for the world, but there was a complete shift in life balance that had to occur. Fishing is still my life, don't get me wrong, but there's bigger fish now, and I always have to keep that in mind. So.
You know, and speaking of the last year, I mean, we know what you're talking about, you know, raising a family, you got your daughter and everything, but this last year with what's been going on, you know, here across America, we know a lot of the tournaments got canceled because of COVID. Did that affect you any at all on the walleye circuit?
It condensed our season a little bit because we had to, the first couple got canceled and venues got changed. So we had to fish different bodies of water in a tighter season. So you were away, home for a brief stint, and then you had to turn around and go back out and start fishing again because they weren't able to space it out during the season. And we have a short season up here, anyways. Up in the northern area up here, you don't have 12 months a year to take a boat out in most places and compete. So
you could, but you're going to be in some ice.
That's right. I should have sent you a picture. I used to be really mad at the walleyes and spend up to 6 weeks a year up in Escanaba, Michigan, and finish out my season up there. And there were days where I have broken ice to get out to where I want to fish, and there's ice fishing shanties just off to the side,
right?
That had their tip upset and waiting for fish to bite as I'm trying to get a boat through their stuff. So. We've crossed paths a time or two. People who ice fish are a different breed. I mean, we've done it, and we don't do it quite as much as we'd like to, but there's some people that are hardcore. I'll be at work, and we've got a Skycam trained on the Saginaw River that I can access. I work at the TV station. And there's times I'm like, I swear there's open water on that river, and you see somebody either on a bucket or pulling a shanty, and I'm like, you guys are nuts. Most walleye fishermen have a screw loose, I would say. So yeah, we're
dedicated.
Yeah,
you're a different breed, just like bass fishermen, just like you. That's why you end up where you're doing what you're doing. And I tell you we're going to come up on our last break. We've got just a couple more questions, and then we get to ask you our personal questions that we ask all our interviewees.
All right, okay. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to step outside. We'll be right back after this.
All right, folks, I got these questions lined up for them in our last segment, and I have our questions waiting in the wings because it would not be a UNJ interview if we did not ask our 4 simple questions.
And talking about the open water, that was just like 2-3 weeks ago.
Well, it's funny on the
there was open water on the
Saginaw River. 1 minute you can see them ice fishing, and if the wind changes,
it's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah. It's crazy. I respect the river and I respect the big water. Give me a pond. Man, it scares me to death. I've been on the river a couple times, and you hear the ice pop, and you know it's making ice, but when the cracks and it goes right through the hole in front of you, in between your legs, the pucker factor is incredible.
But you remember those moments.
Yeah.
Just like when we brought those guys up from down south when we had them walk out on Houghton Lake.
Yeah. Yeah, bring some people from Alabama and Kentucky up and put them on the ice, and then build a fire on the ice.
And watch them freak.
It freaks them out. And then you turn around and pull a vehicle on the ice, and that blows their mind.
Right? All right.
Here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, 1. Last segment of the show. Man, this has went by quick.
It has gone by quick, and Joe, people are getting to know you on our show, and our people that listen in. Is there anywhere we can go to find more about you? You got a YouTube channel, you know, Facebook. Where are you hanging out that people can like and come and check out your videos?
Yep, everybody can come find me on Facebook and YouTube if they want. I'm redoing my website this year, and you can find me there. But it's easy to stay right where everybody's looking right now on Facebook and shoot me a message anytime you need something.
Folks,
we're all very easily accessible now these days, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I tell you what, folks, you got to do this. You got to hit him up on Facebook, but you got to go check out his YouTube. Some of the things on there, there's some you are great, but you got to check out the blooper reels.
We had fun back then.
Right?
Well, if you don't have fun, it becomes work, right?
Exactly.
It's always been work, but it's like the only work you've ever wanted to do.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. Do you do any jigging?
Yes.
So you do jigging. All right. So that's one's answer.
Hey, are these your questions or are these?
No, these are people coming in on Facebook, and I'm just catching up. To them. What pound test line do you run on your trolling lines?
12 pound.
Do you paint your own lures or your own baits?
Yes, I just received a new batch of my epoxy brushes today, and I've got a big run of crankbaits to do before our first tournament. So I'm going to start painting stuff, crazy stuff.
You're an artist as well. Okay.
No, I'm not. They look terrible, but I don't think. I mean, Walleye's got the brain the size of a pea, according to my friend Brett. So
it's just gotta look. It's gotta look good to a fish, man.
If you got one laying there handy, you can grab. With an arm's reach.
No, I don't.
Okay, lucky.
And that would require me to stand up and potentially show Aaron if I'm wearing pants or not.
Yeah, so we don't want to get that
away. Let's. What's your go-to lure for trolling?
I'd have to say a number 7 flicker shad is a go-to. Just it's if you need to get a walleye bite, that's a pretty good one to get bit on, I'd say.
There you go. So those are the quick questions that I had to catch up on. But actually, this next question is going to lead us into a little information of your upcoming season. It's from Guy Engerbresten. It's about the head-to-head. And we're going to talk about that a little bit here. Joe, which angler are you looking most forward to competing against and winning on the H2H while on live coverage? Explain a little bit about what's going on with that H2H and what that's all about.
Sure. It's head-to-head. I started last year, and it's basically a bracketed tournament format. So starting next year, I'm going to compete on it's a 32 boat field. It's the same guys competing at every tournament, and the final couple days is one the people that have had the most cumulative weight over the course of the first part of the tournament, and those guys will be bracketed in a head-to-head fashion with live coverage in the boat that you'll be able to watch here on Facebook for I think there's 50 hours of coverage a week live. So it should be a lot of fun, and it's on waters that I haven't fished before, and that was probably one of the most intriguing parts. Is going to places that I don't even have a waypoint on, and having 3 days to figure it out, and having a 30 days off limit prior to, so that I really don't have an awesome running start going into the event. It's basically just going there and feeling out the bite in 3 days, and then attacking it to the best of your ability for the next few days, hoping that you can do it better than everybody else. And one of those guys is Mike Gofron. Who did some. I think he won one last year actually, and I haven't competed against him in a while. So he's a guy that I have watched since I knew walleye tournament fishing has existed, and I've admired his abilities ever since. He's just an amazing angler, and I'm proud to be able to compete against guys of that caliber. So it should be a lot of fun.
Kind of like a boxing match, but fishing, going head to head.
Yeah, I would suck in a boxing match, so at least I got a fishing pole in my hand.
And you're gonna be pretty close to us for an April tournament, aren't you?
Yeah, we are. We're coming to the Detroit River, so I'll be in Trenton next month. You can't fish with me because we're not allowed to have anybody else in our boat, but definitely come hang out with us. Where they're doing all their media at, and maybe we can set up like a live thing there next month when we're there.
Absolutely. We would be glad to come down there to check you guys out, especially if I don't think you're going to be alone. I think you're going to have part of the rest of the Yamaha pro guys with you, right?
Yeah. I travel with Robert Blosser and Brett King, and Josh Blosser is going to be fishing this one too, and they're all part of the Yamaha crew as well, and so we'll be there and available for you if you need us. So, and then we're in addition to the head-to-head, which I'm really looking forward to. It's going to be neat competing against a smaller field on new bodies of water. But I'm also hoping to jump in the boat either with my dad or a couple close buddies for some AIM walleye events too. They have several one-off events called Quest for the Best, and those will be a lot of fun to participate in. And maybe a weekend walleye series or two as well. So we'll have a busy year of competing, and I can't wait to get out of this little cold snap and start thinking about backing a boat down in the water again.
Well, we'll be glad to be meeting you down there in Trenton and hooking up with you guys. Just give us a heads up, and for anybody out there, when we find out more about where Joe and Yamaha guys are going to be, we'll let you guys know that they'll be around your area and tell you what circuits they're going to be on. And Aaron Johnson says, please don't stand up. You stayed at his house.
Okay.
So I get it.
Tough crowd tonight.
Right. So, yeah, I can tell some of these are your friends, buddy. I can tell. So, you know what?
You know how they say, what's the rule of six? We're all 6 people away from knowing each other
6
or whatever.
degrees of separation. Yeah.
6 degrees. Yes. Thank you. So in fishing, it's half that or less. It's such a tight knit community. I know everybody that is probably on that chat tonight, and I've learned a lot from several of them. So
That's
pretty
awesome.
Pretty cool.
And getting towards the end of our last segment here, we're going to turn the tails on you a little bit and kind of ask you the UNJ typical questions, because I don't want to get yelled at by Tammy.
Okay.
So these questions are real simple. They're not going to throw you under any boat, not going to throw you out without a life jacket. So the first question is, you're traveling to a tournament. You're pulling your boat, you're going down the highway, or maybe you're just practice fishing, you're out in the boat listening to the radio. What kind of music does Joe listen to in the truck?
I like to listen to I like some classical music, and I like film score. I like listen to like a film scored or a movie scored playlist where you just hear some of the key music from different movies, because that way you're not too fixed on the music itself, but it just allows you to think a little bit. But other than that, I like rock. I mean, when I let my Sirius subscription run out, but Hair Nation was always one of my buttons.
Hair Nation, Ozzy's Boneyard.
It's always a go-to, isn't it?
But I know what you mean about the music scores, because you get into that frame of mind, whether it be Star Wars, Superman, just some that come off the top. But you get into that mode, you don't have to really think. You just kind of go with it, and it plays back on you.
If the Walleyes hadn't taken my breath away the way they did when I was little, I probably would have ended up becoming like I'd probably be teaching violin right now. So
there, hey, that'll work. Okay, you are listening to your favorite film score as you're driving down the road. You reach over, and there's got to be a go-to type of snack that you're going to reach for. What kind of snack are you reaching for?
Man,
we caught
anything with anything with sugar in it. I have the worst sweet tooth ever, and if you put a bag of like child sugar treats in front of me, the thing will be gone. The little troll worms are the bomb. I don't know.
Man, you
I
and
have
your
so many
daughter are
cavities
gonna be,
half the
how are
time
you?
when I go to the dentist, hates me.
I can see a problem
Or the
developing.
dentist loves me, I mean.
Right? I see a problem developing where you and your daughter are going to be trying to fight over the. She's going to want it. You're going to be eating them, and mom's going to be like, I don't think so, and you're going to be in trouble. I can
No,
see
she'll
that.
play right along. She's got a worse sweet tooth than I do.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's good stuff.
All right. Third out of 4 questions.
Okay.
Mike and Dan are going to come over, and we're going to sit down, and you're going to cook us a meal. What would be your go-to meal to cook us wild, whether it be fish, whether it be venison, whether it be whatever? What is your go-to meal that you would give Mike and Dan for dinner?
I'm really good at cooking fish, but I'm going to cook you a prime New York strip in my sous vide container at 135 for 2.5 hours, and then give it a sear with my torch, and it'll blow your mind.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Sounds really
Mashed
good.
potatoes,
Yeah.
asparagus, nice medium rare. That's probably. I'm terrible at grilling, and I'm not even that good of a cook. But you can't screw stuff up with a sous vide container because you just set it at the right temperature and you let it sit there for a little while, and it's basically cooked. You just got to burn it a little bit on the outside, and you're done. And that is my favorite thing to do right now.
Right on.
Well, Mike and Dan will be there. Don't worry.
You're on your way.
Yeah, right? All right. Last question. We're sitting around. We just had a great meal. We just watched you use a torch on our steaks, which sounds really good. Now we're going to sit by maybe your fire at the house. We're going to sit back, kick back, and you're going to tell us a story that resonates within you, that got you to where you are, or sticks in your mind, or something like that you want to tell us.
Ugh. I could write a book, man. I don't even know where to start with that one. There's been so many. This road has been really long, and there's certain key individuals in this industry that continue to support me to this day. That without bumping into them at some point in my life, and how things progressed from that point on,
Who is the gentleman that gave you your start at the sporting goods store?
His name was Gene Dellinger, and just talked to him yesterday, and he's one of them. We don't have time to even.
He's the one that got you your start, right? He
was, yes. So he knows the Madison Chain of Lakes like the back of his hand. He knows where we call certain areas kiddie spots, because when you're out guiding and you just need to go get bit, we have a rotation of kiddie spots that we go fish to make sure that we put fish in the boat on tough days. And before I knew any of these spots, or how to fish them, or how the patterns play into those spots throughout the year so you can time them right, he's the one that coached me through that. He's the one that kind of taught me how the retail chain works with the industry. That's the toughest question, because there's 3 or 4 individuals that I sure would like to tell a story about someday.
And I pulled that one out of watching YouTube, because they had a segment about you.
Oh yeah.
And that I watched that one, and they interviewed him, and he said, and it was giving you your start, and that's why I led you into that, because as soon as I knew where you're going, I remembered that, and it's like that he was the gentleman that, like you said, you just talked to him yesterday.
Yeah.
So that, and you get a compliment. Mark Coleman says, Joe, you're a very humbled guy, and he's thoroughly enjoyed the live show with you tonight, watching you.
I appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in and for having me on and everything. And maybe we'll do a story time next time. And I've got a lot. Maybe I'll do that on my own someday. But there sure are in every fisherman's career, there's a series of individuals that they encounter in their life that allows them to get to where they are, and if they miss those encounters, their trajectory of their career might not ever take place. And so this isn't a one-man sport. Even though we're out there in the boat by ourselves, there's a whole army of people behind that have groomed you and supported you to get to where you are. So
and you would not be amiss if you did not thank your wife for putting up with what you do, meeting you at the dock, backing your boat up, and doing everything and helping you out in your career.
That's right. Thanks, honey.
See, there you go.
Before we let you go, though, who can back a boat up better, you or her?
I can't lie, it's me. I mean, but okay. I don't have the best blind swing from the right side of the truck either. So I don't.
There you go.
I blame it on the ears of my Dodge. They're not good.
They got too big of A-pillars. Won't lie. You know what? It has been a great evening with you tonight, and we've taken a great amount of your time and thank you very much for stepping in for the show tonight, courtesy of Yamaha. And like we said, Yamaha Power Pay, go over there. If you got a Yamaha motor, go sign up. It's free. If you want to check out their motors, go check out Yamahaoutboards.com. Check out what they got. And stay tuned as we go out through the year. It sounds like keep in touch with us and Joe and find out when he's going to be on the head-to-head and all the other tournaments that are going to be out there. And you can tune in live and maybe we'll see this guy win a tournament.
Absolutely.
God, I hope so.
Right on.
And if everything works out and we're down in Trenton with these guys and we can go live, I promise you that we won't call the cops. Hopefully they won't call it, but we'll see if we can't hook something up and get down there and be live with you guys.
Well, we've already talked with
That'd be
Blosser.
awesome.
We talked with King, and now we got Joe on.
All we got left is the other Blosser to interview. And
We could be in trouble down
right.
there.
I know, right?
Well, I tell you what, we're going to go ahead and we'll wrap up the podcast portion of the show tonight. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, don't forget to go over Joe's Facebook page, go over to his YouTube channel as well. Give him a like, follow, share. And do the same with the show tonight as well. If you listen to us on iTunes, make sure you give us a review over there. That helps us out, helps our supporters out who make this possible for us. So for those of you on the podcast, that'll do it for us tonight. Y'all take care, and we'll see you again next week. And for
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate you being
you.
on. For those of you on the live stream, if you've got a quick question, throw it in real quick before we sign off. And Joe, once we sign off, if you hang on for 1 second, we'll talk with you for just a brief moment afterwards. We won't take any of your time up, though.
Okay,
You're good.
You got a young one that's probably... she might be out by now.
That or she's waiting to thump you on the head after bumping her on the head.
Right?
What an idiot. I just went, bam, and I was like, oh no, and there were the tears.
Way to go, Dad.
Well, we've seen that on America's Funniest Videos where the dad does it and his ceiling fan, thump, thump, thump. So, well, it looks like
Yep,
everybody's...
I think we're all set.
All right, so we're going to sign off here on the live stream. Joe, like I said, if you just hang with us here at the end after we're done. For those of you on the live stream, do the same thing. Go give them a like, follow, share. Share the show tonight if you would on your Facebook or on your other social media pages. And don't forget to give us a like, follow, share as well. So that'll do it for us tonight, and we'll be back again next Thursday night, 7:30, same time. Y'all take care, and we'll see you again next week.